Hello everybody, welcome back to the Footy Yarn. It's great to be here ahead of the AFLW Draft. I'm here with Ella Slocombe from Claremont. Ella, how are you?
Good, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Now, you've been a real bolter is the term that likes to get used. How do you feel when you see your name put down as a bolter?
Yeah, well, I don't even know what a bolter was, to be honest, which probably shows how much of a bolter I am.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely probably the right term to describe me.
Yeah, it's like to go from, not to say you're nothing at the start of this year, but, you know, there's the girls who come into the year, everyone knows, everyone's excited about it. To go, like, just supersede some of them, be, like, at the same level as some of them, like, now, like, you look back, what's that like?
Yeah, well, it's crazy. I think, if you talk to, like, Trent Cooper and everyone, they're like, she was probably not even going to get a game with the state team. So, to be up with some of the top girls now is, I would never have thought.
That's pretty stiff to say you weren't even going to get a game in the state team.
Well, that's what he's been telling everyone that. So I think it makes for a good story though. Yeah. Do
you like that, or do you get a bit offended?
Oh, well, I mean, I think the same as well. I think, I put a lot of work in this year. So probably at the start of the year, I probably was in that boat.
Yeah. Now, you've gone from, like, you were Rogers last year and then transitioned into playing senior footy, like, middle of last year, end of last year?
Yeah.
Or, like, throughout the WAFL season anyway. What was that like to go from that jump of, because a lot of the younger girls do it in the WAFLW, but how did you find that jump going up to WAFLW senior footy?
Yeah, I think, I was pretty lucky, like as soon as I came to Claremont, the Rogers and League kind of trained a bit together. So I think I was pretty lucky to be able to train with the senior girls. But playing is just a whole different story, bigger girls, I'm quite small anyway. And then, up against the big girls, it was a big jump. But such a good experience from a young age.
Especially in, because I think obviously it's with both categories, like girls and boys both need to fill out, but I feel like the boys are probably a bit better at filling out than the girls are comparative to some of the other guys the older age. Like when you come in at, what, you would have been like 16 17, like, and you're scrawny, you're already a small player. You're a small player in the 18s, and then, you go on to senior footy. How do you find that? Like, do you remember the first time you got hit?
I think, I first started playing seniors, I started playing reserves. So I think some of the reserves girls, maybe a little bit bigger, maybe not as fit, and just massive bodies.
Just running rings around them.
Yeah, so I think I was pretty lucky I could just run rings around. But definitely when I went to tackle some of those bigger girls, I was like, oh shit.
They're just not moving.
No, you just got to put your head, you just got to throw yourself at them because otherwise you can't get there.
Yeah, do you ever, I remember one time I played like reserves when I probably would have been 17. It was like, I was running after a bloke and then this big brick wall of a man came in to put the shepherd. Like, in that situation, are you trying to run through him knowing you're just going to put yourself, like, on the floor, or are you just going?
Well, I did get a concussion at the start of this year. Yeah. I was running off the ball and I got bumped and I kind of did a roly-poly and hit my neck on the ground. So it was to my detriment a little bit, but I think, I just try and throw my body at them. Yeah.
Did you crack into the league side last year? You did, didn't you? Towards the end of the season, and then you were there for, the big dance?
Yeah, the grand final was my 10th game. Yeah. So that's kind of halfway through the season,
Yeah, how was that to come in halfway through the season, win a flag with the girls?
It was insane, being 16, it was me and one other girl, we were both 16, youngest by a few years, so it was insane. Yeah,
and I guess because there were a couple already listed players playing, or were they about to be listed? I can't remember. There was a weird transition period between.
I think the draft was about a week before the grand final, so some girls could play who'd been, but then some of the clubs didn't let them play. So it was a little bit of a mix.
So what was that like playing like at that stage already with AFLW players? Yeah. Like, I don't know if you're thinking about that on the field, but like
I wasn't really, but it was just insane. I think I only got like 8 touches or something. Yeah. I was just happy to be there. I didn't
16, care. That's 8 good touches.
Yeah, I didn't even care. I was just happy to be there.
Yeah, and I mean, you come away with a winner's medal, so it's like, when you're 16 and you win a senior flag, so I think when you're 16 and you win a Colts flag, no one's going to say it, but like the boys would get on the beers with them and all that, but like when you're 16, the girls are probably like going out to like places where it's like 18 plus and all that. Is it a bit, I'm sure they're including as much as they can, but at 16, does it get a bit lonely?
I think, we kind of up at the club rooms, like I don't think anyone really, we're keeping that much of a close eye, everyone was on top of the world, so I didn't think anyone cared, but all the league girls went out, afterwards. And then I think, some of the Colts sort of age girls, we sort of went to someone's house and had a bit of a party there. So, it wasn't too bad. I was lucky to be surrounded by heaps of the girls.
And just straight on the full sugar pasitos all night.
On the Sprites, definitely.
Yeah, the no sugar or the full sugar?
Obviously no sugar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to let loose because it was a grand final or whatever.
No.
When you come into this year as, obviously everyone's saying a bolter, like, you've played senior footy, so you know in a way that you are good enough to be a draft prospect and all that, but was it at the forefront of your mind? What were your goals and aspirations when you come into this year?
Yeah, I think when people sort of ask me that, I say, like, the draft wasn't even something I was really thinking about. I was just happy to get a league game. I wanted to try get a game with the WA side. Like, I think the draft wasn't even really at the top of my mind, but then I think sort of being in the state academy in that like high performance environment, then I sort of thought like, the draft would be pretty cool. And I think, I just sort of worked to it from there. But it wasn't really something that I'd thought about long before this year at all.
Yeah, what was your off season like? Like in terms of trying to work towards it, especially making the state team and all that. What did it look like that you were trying to do? Were you working with, the girls at Claremont, or were you doing a lot individually?
Yeah, I think I was working a lot of my endurance individually, and then, just trying to get in the gym and, get a little bit bigger, as you said, and work on my power and my speed in the off-season. But I did spend a little bit of time away overseas as well, so I think, that kind of might have put me back a little bit. But, I was only gone for, 3 weeks, so it wasn't bad.
Where'd you go?
Canada.
Oh, what was that like?
Insane.
It looks really nice.
It's so nice. I've been there once before, so I went to Whistler. The snow was just insane. I went with heaps of my cousins as well, so it was just...
I've never been to the snow, when it's snowing. Was it snowing when you were there?
Yeah.
That's so sick.
We snowboarded every day. It was so much fun.
Is it hard? I got obviously in Melbourne it snows there. I've been to a snowy place once, and we went tobogganing. This was when I was 10.
Tobogganing.
I was sick. But one of my mates just asked, they're a bit doing well for cash. Yeah, and so he was like, "Oh, our family's all going to Melbourne this year. We're doing a ski trip or snowboarding trip." Cashed up. They've done it a few times at different places. You want to come? I was like, "Oh yeah, of course I do. Obviously I'd love to." Is it hard?
The first time, I think the thing about snowboarding is it's really hard to pick up, but once you pick it up, you're set.
Yeah.
You can cruise down. Skiing, I did skiing the first time and I just hated it.
What's harder?
Skiing's easy to pick up, but it's harder to get good at.
Yeah.
Snowboarding I'd say it's a lot harder to pick up. We were only skiing for about 6 or 7 days the first time, and I spent the first 5 days on my ass. I couldn't even get up. And then the second time we went, it was so much better. It was so fun.
Yeah. Did you do any cool tricks on a snowboard? Or?
No. There's this little jump park, and one of my cousins is really good. He was kind of doing tricks off it, and we tried. But I'm also really scared of heights, so it wasn't for me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. Is it hard? It would have to be hard, icy snow underfoot, right?
Yeah. Well, if you go out in the morning, it's powder. I'm not an expert or anything.
No, well, you're an expert in this room. So.
But no, it's sometimes it's powdery. I think it was icy a few days if it hadn't snowed much. But they also have a snow machine, even though it snows, to make it a little bit more powdery up top, which is good because then you don't hurt yourself when you're falling over.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Does it hurt when you fall over?
Yeah, it does hurt, especially your bum.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets sore.
I'm starting to not look forward to this. I might just stick to tobogganing when I go over there.
You'll love it.
Have you been tobogganing?
I have. Not really.
I can tell you a thing or two about it. Hold on to the ropes really tight and just go.
Just send it.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I fell off about 10 times.
That's so funny.
Way more difficult than it seems. But yeah, you come into this year, start of this season. What did it feel like, I guess, playing? Do you feel like a different player when you come in your 18th year? You've clearly improved, to a paramount level where you've gone from where everyone's rating you so highly to last year, not good enough for the state squad. Did you feel like a significantly better player?
Yeah, I actually did, which is really random. I think last year, I think in the grand final and all my league games, looking back on it now, I'm I had no idea what I was doing. I was I was just chasing the ball. I was running around. I didn't really understand the game well enough. I didn't know where I needed to be. I was just trying to get the ball and
just see ball, get
ball.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what I was doing last year. And I think this year, I've had a whole new level of understanding. I think that's probably why my game's improved so much. When I look back on it last year, I was I had no idea what I was doing. I was just running around chasing the ball. I didn't have a clue.
When did that sort of, because obviously that doesn't really come at round one, or at least I wouldn't think so. When did that sort of really start to click for you, where you were you understood the game and you saw things and you knew where you needed to be?
I think probably like I spent the whole summer training with State Academy, which like great coaches, like best experience ever. I think that was a whole nother level up. So I think, spent the whole summer training with State Academy, and then probably the first few preseason games for Claremont, I saw like a real change. And then, I did my concussion in round 1. So I had quite a while. I had about 6 weeks off. So probably coming from back from that as well, definitely I saw a change straight away.
Yeah, you've had a pretty interrupted season. 6-week concussion is crazy.
Yeah, four or 5.
That's
but it was
still
pretty
crazy.
bad. Yeah, I was, especially the first week, like I was in a world of pain. I didn't know that I had a concussion until, so the game was on Sunday. I didn't know I had a concussion until the Friday because I waited all week to go to the doctor. And then, but I just felt like absolute shit. And then as soon as I found out it was a concussion, I was like, thank God, this is why I've been feeling so bad.
Yeah, you're not dying.
I thought I was dying. I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
So it was good to find out.
What were the symptoms? Like you just...
I was just, I played a shit game and I was like, okay, this is terrible. I was just...
This can't be my fault. It has to be something external.
And I was like, thank God I found out because I played such a bad game because it happened in like the first quarter and I played the whole game. And I was just super emotional. Like I was at school and I was like crying and I was like, I'm quitting footy. I hate footy. Like it just, everything was so overwhelming to me. Like I couldn't do much at school. Yeah. My brain was just like mush. Like every time I tried to think about something, I just started crying. Yeah. Because of the trauma that happens to your brain. So, when I found out, I was like, oh, thank God. I'm not depressed.
I'm a normal human being.
I like footy still. It's just, so it did take me a while to get over it.
Yeah. 4 weeks is, how did you feel, like, the progression of, like, how it feels better? Like, I've had concussions before, but not, like, ones that have lasted longer than a month. Like, what's the progression of, like, how you feel throughout that until you know you're ready to go?
Yeah. Well, I think the first week was terrible and then it kind of got better from there. But I think the doctor, State Academy, he was very strict on you're not going back until you do this. Like you have to run for more than 10 minutes without getting a headache. Then you have we have to bump you a few times and then you have to have a few days off to see if you get any symptoms. So I think they were very, very cautious, maybe a little bit over the top. I was quite impatient to get back. I was like, I'm fine. After 2 weeks, I was like, get me back. But I think it was so early on in the season, like they were like, no point pushing it, just, stretch it out and make sure you're 100% better. So yeah,
and that wasn't your only injury for the season, was it?
No.
Yeah, what else did you have? Because I knew you were injured, but it's not really spoken about as much with the women's game. Like, unless you're watching every game, you don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So, what were you dealing with?
So I was actually really sick. So we played up in Broome with Claremont, which was just insane. And I must have picked up something off the plane or off the bus or something because I came home the day after and I had the flu or tonsillitis, so I was just super sick. So I was in bed for about a week and a half and then I went back to training. And it was a really cold and wet, rainy night and I hadn't been doing anything, hadn't been out of bed for about a week and a half. Yeah. And I was just running with the ball and I slipped and I fractured my patella. So I was just running. No, it was my tibial plateau, which I'd actually done before, on the left side, and I just hyperextended my leg, and I fell to the ground, and I was like, oh shit, like I couldn't get up. I thought it might have been my ACL, but when I couldn't put any weight on it, I was like, oh, it's probably not because ACL, like.
Yeah, people can still walk.
People
can
walk.
ACL.
Yeah, it's not like apparently ACL. Like you hear a pop and then you can walk and it's fine. Yeah. But mine, I couldn't put weight on it, so a few girls had to carry me off, and I went in for an MRI the next day, and I just fractured my tibial plateau. So it could have been way worse. It could have been an ACL or something. So luckily it wasn't. But that was pretty tough having sort of 7 or 8 weeks out again. Yeah,
when you're getting these injuries, and obviously with the girls' comp, I feel like it's not as, obviously the scouts are all doing, their due diligence, but there's probably aren't as many opportunities as there is that the boys get. Yeah. So like you're already on slightly less opportunities, obviously the same as all the other girls, and then take from this, you weren't really a prospect coming into this year or a top level prospect. Yeah. And you've missed all this footy, like especially that second one where you're starting to get some good form and I'm sure there's a little bit of attention and you have a chance, like how frustrating, how annoying, what are your emotions throughout that period? Yeah, well, I thought like I've kind of got no chance now because, as you said, I kind of felt like I had a lot to prove. And I was surprised with the amount of, not that it was a lot, but I was surprised with how sort of many recruiters
sort of were interested in me because I felt like I hadn't even shown them half of what I could do. Like I kind of got a few games in and then I did my knee, and then, you know, after you come back, the first few games after that are never going to be your best games, and then the season was over. So yeah, I was very frustrated, especially to miss the grand final. I went to about 3 different physios, and my dad's a physio as well, which helps.
Just trying to get one of them to clear you.
And they all said, you know, you could, but what if you do your ACL because you've come back too early? So yeah, I was so frustrated. I was so upset when I got told I was going to miss the grand final. Obviously, we'd won the year before. Like going back to back would have been insane. So upset. I thought the world was going to end. But yeah, we lost the grand final anyway. So
then the question begs: were you the difference last year? Were those 8 touches, you know, all the difference?
No, I would never say that.
You wouldn't. I'll say it for you.
Well, I got to watch the grand final from the box with all the coaches, so it was an unreal experience anyway. But yeah, that was a sad day all round.
What was the coach like in the box? Like, was it frustration? Was it sadness? Like, were you a little afraid to be there because they were angry, or?
Yeah, I think. Well, Jack does get a little bit angry. I think he's controlled himself a lot more this season, I've heard. I don't know what he was like last season, but I was just happy I wasn't up there. No, I think he's very level-headed. Like he might yell a little bit in the box, but as soon as he goes down to the players, he's like very calm. He knows if he needs to give us a spray, then he will, but otherwise he's very, very considered. So yeah, I was definitely a little bit anxious being in the box, especially because we were losing most of the time. But I'd been in the box for a few rounds before that, so I knew what I was getting into.
Do you learn much from being in the box? Like, what did you take away from your time there?
So much. Like, yeah, as I said, I probably helped my footy IQ a lot being in the box. Like, I was, used to run around a little bit, not having much of an idea, but seeing, like, exactly what the coaches want, like, understanding where they want you to stand, and, like, even just looking at some of the senior players and their running patterns and everything, like, that helped me immensely coming back.
Yeah, and something you mentioned earlier about getting attention from clubs, like, when did that start for you? If there is a moment you can remember, like, when was the first time you heard that a club was interested in you?
Yeah, well, probably my very, very, very first time where I thought, someone's actually knows who I am, was when a player manager from Sydney reached out, and I was like, Sydney, like, how does anyone from Sydney know who I am? Like, that was crazy to me. That would have probably been, like, just as the season started, July maybe, August. And then, from there, I had a few other player managers reach out, and then the first club who reached out was Melbourne. And they just texted me, and I had to double check my phone. I was like, Melbourne? Like, how does anyone from Melbourne know who I am? So I think from then I sort of had 2 or 3, and then leading up into the combine, and then after the combine I've had quite a few more since then. So even now I'm like, how does anyone know who I am? Yeah. So it was pretty cool.
When the interstate clubs are reaching out to you, like initially, because obviously you haven't nominated at all, let alone nominated nationally, like, what are they talking to you about? Are they, like, trying to convince you to nominate nationally, or are they just saying, hey, we've seen you play, we like what you do?
Yeah, I think initially, like, in the early stages, they're like, we like what you do, like, get to know more about me, like, we look forward to watching you for the rest of the season, kind of just, like, putting the feelers out there. I think sort of once you get those clubs from interstate, you're like, maybe I should nominate nationally, but I don't think anyone's trying to convince you. I think, they're just putting the feelers out there at the start anyway.
Yeah, did West Coast and Freo, like, contact you pretty early, or did they take a while?
Yeah, well, I kind of just, like, spoke to West Coast a little bit, like, throughout the season. Like, I knew Chad Morrison, and he'd come to quite a few games, so I'd spoken to him, but not formally. But yeah, Eagles and Freo were towards the back end of this year. Like, I'd spoken to a lot more sort of Melbourne clubs before I'd spoken to them, which was interesting.
Yeah, and what was it like for you, the process? I just had Caitlin in here earlier. She was talking about her process to nominate nationally. For you, what did it look like what was it like for you to nominate nationally? How long did it take you to come to that decision, and what were the real big factors for you? Yeah,
well, I think, initially having the Melbourne clubs reach out, I was like, this is so cool. Like, what a cool opportunity this would be. So I think I was, like, worried that maybe the WA clubs wouldn't have even reached out. So I was like, maybe it is a no-brainer. Eventually they did, and I have had, like, great chats to both of them. They were both super keen, but at the end of the day, 18 clubs, like, only 2 here. I thought, yeah, why not like throw my hat in the ring? And I think even after I nominated, I think only the last sort of week it's felt actually a little bit real, like I might be moving over east, but I've got heaps of family in Melbourne and some family in Sydney as well. So I think that made the decision a little bit easier. Like obviously I just turned 18, never lived out of home, like super scary if I was to move. But yeah, I think having family there definitely like made the decision a little bit easier.
Yeah, you say that like super scary, and
Yeah.
you know, you said earlier you're sort of shitting bricks a little bit. Like, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
There's 5 days until the draft, and it's like you could end up in Adelaide, you could end up in, you know, Queensland, Sydney, Victoria. You could just stay here. Like, how are you feeling just not knowing where you're going to live next year?
Yeah, super nervous. Like, yeah, as I said, everyone's like been asking me obviously the last few months how you feeling, and I'm like, yeah, like whatever, like I don't know, hadn't really sunk in yet, but the last few days I've definitely been super nervous. Every night before I go to sleep, it's what I think about, and then when I wake up in the morning, it's what I think about. I think it's just the uncertainty. Like I've sometimes you have a fair idea, which I kind of, I have a little bit of an idea, but also anything could happen on the night, like anything could change. And not knowing like if I'm going to be going to uni somewhere else, like, it's so unknown.
Yeah. Do you have a manager?
Yeah.
Manager?
Yeah.
Like, when did that process start for you? Because I only really started to understand how managers worked like this year.
Yeah.
Because it's such a weird thing.
Isn't it? I had no idea either.
Yeah, like I thought it would have been like families go and look out for managers and then like, get one. Apparently the managers come to you, they see you play, and then they're all pitching you. Like, what was that process like? Was it, who are you with?
Lauren from Stella Athletes.
Yeah. Okay, so like what was that? Like, was she the first one to reach out to you? Did she just have the best pitch? What was it like when you started speaking to managers?
Yeah, so as I said before, like this manager from Sydney was kind of the first footy interest I'd had for anything. So I had like a Zoom call with him, and I liked what he was about, but like I just had no idea about managers. Like I think in the women's game especially, like it wasn't a massive thing. So I sort of spoke to Jack at Claremont and I said, what do you think about me getting a manager? And he said, oh, it's probably not necessary. Like, you're in the state academy, Trent Cooper, he can talk to the clubs for you. Like, you probably don't really need one. I spoke to Trent and Bo as well, and they said, I probably don't need one at this stage. So I kind of held off a little bit. And then we got introduced to the AFL Players Association, which is basically just like a portal where all the clubs, all the managers can kind of like hit you up and reach up. And like, so it's kind of more regulated. It's not just a bunch of managers texting you saying, I'll give you this if you come here.
See, that's what I was wondering. I was like, is it just a dogfight of text messages?
Well, like kind of like that's what you would kind of think. But, and in a way, like I had some managers like keep texting me like, we really want you, we want you, we want you. And I was like, I don't know if I want a manager yet. Just hold off a little bit. So this website was kind of good to have a portal where all the managers could go. And so I ended up kind of like I logged on every few days and there was like 2 more, and like I ended up having like 10 managers on there, and I was like
you're feeling good.
Yeah, I was like, okay, keep it coming.
No, I was like, you want me.
No, I was like, most of them are over east, a few here, but so I met with heaps, like I met with 5 or 6 probably at the start, in person and like over call. And I think it's just like I asked for advice from people who had managers and stuff, like how do you know who's a good one? They're all kind of offering the same thing, like they all do basically the same thing. Everyone just said it's the feeling that you get, like who you can trust. Like a manager, obviously you're talking to them all the time and they're talking to clubs. So I think with Lauren and Stella, I just had a really good feeling straight away that she was going to have my best interests at heart. Like she wasn't just looking for my money, and like she wanted to help me out as best she could. So I ended up going with her. Only a month or 2 ago, I was going to wait until after the draft and then get one, but she's been super helpful. So I'm glad I got one.
Yeah, is she WA based?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that would make things quite easy. Is Stellar Athletes, is that only for the girls?
Yeah, it's only female, which I think it's cool when these big managers like Bobby Hill's manager and all them like reaching out, and you're like, oh, that's so cool. But I think like these female-led ones, and Stella's one of the only ones, like they have so much time for you, and it's more of like a personable approach. So I think it was a no-brainer.
I guess not to say that the ones that like manage guys and girls are sort of favouring the guys, but far more money in it for the guys. Like, did that sort of play in your mind? Was it sort of like, well, maybe they're going to show more attention to the guys on their list. Like, I'd rather, or was it just sort of the fact that it was like a solely female approach? Did that help you? Was it just a combination of things?
Yeah, I think it was a combination. Like, yeah, I think some of the ones like with heaps and even with heaps and heaps of girls, like Stella's a much more boutique, even though it's getting a lot bigger now. I think people are realizing like how good they are. But yeah, I think the ones with so many people listed, like, and then some of these managers, like, they only have a few agents, like 3 or 4 agents. So if they're trying to split their time between 20 or 30 people all going, then they're not going to be putting their time just into you. So, yeah, I think it was a combination of things.
Now, I want to talk about being a part of the state squad, leading into the champs, all of that. How did that feel to be in, for the state 18s, to be in with that group of girls?
Yeah. Well, I think, as we kind of spoke about, like, I wasn't highly touted at all. I think, like, Georgie and Caitlin and Jamie and all those girls, like, I looked up to them. And I think, some of them had been in the 18s a year before and they'd been in the National Academy. And I came in and I was like, wow, these girls are, like, they're where I want, like, that's the benchmark and I want to get there. To be sort of playing amongst them now and going through all this with them now and some of my good friends, like it was crazy at the start of the year. I never would have thought that I would be here. So yeah, the State Academy definitely grew me a lot in the last year. Yeah,
like, and with there was only a handful of 18s.
Yeah.
Like, there was like 5 to 10 girls who were actually 18 there. Did you feel a little bit like, not out of place, but like because you were new and a lot of the girls had been there last year, did you feel a bit like nervous to be going in?
I think in new places sometimes I get a little bit timid. I was like just trying to pull back and I didn't want to like take the lead or kind of be too dominant or in anything I did. So I think I just kind of like stayed in the shadows a little bit and just trained over summer, and then like all the girls are so nice, like made friends with all of them. So yeah, I think it was easier as we spent the whole summer, basically January, like we went to Roto on a camp. So I think that, brought all the girls together as well.
Yeah. How'd you find that step up to, I guess, like training and playing state footy?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, obviously I'd never really played anyone outside of WA before. So, I think South Australia was a big, like, opening.
And it's a tough team.
Yeah, and they're the tough team, like the benchmark they have been for years. And like for them to be my first team I ever versed, I was like, holy shit, like they're so good. They were just so fit and strong, and we had a good team as well, but like they're just a whole step above everyone. It's
different gravy.
Yeah, it is. So. It's insane. So yeah, playing them was like, wow, this is what I might be doing in the future.
Yeah, and I guess be like a part of, not to say Claremont isn't professional, but they make sure the state programs are run a bit more professionally in terms of, obviously there's flights, accommodation, all that set out for you. Like, how was that for you to go from, just Claremont and, being one of the bottom gauge girls there to, getting flights and accommodation and all of this?
Yeah, it's insane. Even, like, this sounds silly, but, like, even in some of the first trainings, like, when we got there, they had all this food set out. Like, they had, like, all this Powerade and, like, all these different snacks set out. And I was like, at Claremont, we don't, like, I love Claremont so much, but, like, you don't go, it's a waffle club. You don't get given anything. Yeah. And, like, every training you come in, they've got, like, all this food set up. Like, you can grab whatever you want. Like,
that's so
there was, like, there's almost like more staff than players. Like there is like 20 staff when we went to Sydney, and like even at training, like there's 3 S&Cs and there's doctors and there's physios, and it's just like I was like, whoa, this is so cool. That's
unreal. What was the like snack selection? I don't know if you would have taken notice. When I see a snack selection, I'm taking notice.
Up as many up and goes as you can imagine.
Oh god.
These like oat bars that like me and my friend Claudia, we have a little joke about
those
them. Like,
green music.
Yeah, the green ones.
They're
like,
so good.
No, they're so good. But I would say like I consume
Nature's Valleys. That's what they are.
No, not those ones. They're like there were these other oat ones, and like I would consume like 3 every training. We were training like 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
I would just consume like probably like 20 of those a week.
That's so
and
bad.
Now when I see them, I'm like I can't even eat them now. I always see them at the shops, and I'm like, sometimes I crave them because I used to eat so many.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they just remind me of state training now, because they had these massive boxes there, and they would change the flavours every week, like chocolate, sticky date, caramel, like. God. Yeah, they just remind me of state now.
That actually sounds amazing.
No, it was so good.
Yeah, what was the post game, like what nutrition were they dishing up?
They always did Mexican, so they would always do.
Clubs love doing Mexican.
They always did, and that was another thing as well. I was like, I can't believe they're feeding me after the game. Like they would bring in these big burritos, even sometimes after training.
Where were they from?
Usually Guzmán y Gómez.
Yeah.
Sometimes different places depending on where we were
Yeah.
and what was closest. But mostly, burrito bowls, big burritos. Like even after training, we'd get Siennas sometime.
Yeah.
They'll bring these massive things of pasta in, and I was like, I could get used to
That's
this.
sick.
This is awesome.
That's unreal. Yeah, it's crazy how many clubs go for Mexican.
Yeah.
Like, I work at Zambrero in Richmond, so it's like the nearest
they
one
love
to...
Zambrero as well.
Yeah, it's the nearest one to the G.
Yeah.
So it's like we always have to dish up stuff to the G.
Yeah, they love it.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, man,
and I can't usually eat after a game because I just don't like eating because
Yeah.
I feel sick, or I've been running and I'm just like, so eating a massive burrito, I usually don't even eat them. But
you're
the
not
thought's
finishing
nice.
it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're still getting in it.
Yeah,
It's like,
I still-
do they have chalky milks there?
No, they love an up and go though. So they always have the up and goes, but not the chalky milks.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
I mean, up and go's nice.
I love a chalky milk though.
Yeah,
you
no.
can't top it.
It's a bit like, do you like spearmint milk?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, there goes that conversation.
Mint and I can't do it.
I love mint. They do. If you go interstate, they have. They don't have Masters. They have Big M over there.
Oh,
But they've got like a double choc Big M. Good.
have to try.
Good.
I love chocolate milk.
If you go interstate, it like I had to swallow my tongue a little bit when like the chalky milk's better interstate. I was a bit upset to have to say that.
Yeah, well, maybe it's a good thing if I move.
Yeah,
there.
if you move interstate,
That'll be the only good
yeah,
thing.
if you go to Vic,
The chalky milk.
yeah, and going to an AFLW club,
Yeah,
obviously
that's
getting
pretty good.
drafted,
That's pretty good too.
probably number one.
Yeah,
I'd say.
probably. Oh, maybe.
50-50.
Yeah.
It depends how you like the chalky milk.
Yeah.
Playing the state games, how did you feel that you played?
Well, I think I'm pretty harsh on myself naturally. So I think,
Yeah.
and being up with some of the best girls in the country, I was like, oh, played shit. But I think, when I was getting some like pretty good feedback from my South Australia game, which was our first one, and then obviously we had a big break, and then against the Allies in Blacktown, that was my first game after my injury. So I think, Trent Cooper called me off in, I think, the first or second quarter, and he pulled me off and he gave me a bit of a spray. He goes, "You're not giving the first hands, you're being selfish." And I was like, whoa.
Did you cry? I would have cried.
I didn't cry, but
Up
I
to
almost
state
did.
footy, I would have.
I almost did.
Yeah.
And my family had come over. My dad had come over to watch in Sydney, and I had some family in Sydney who had driven out to Blacktown to watch. And obviously there are quite a few recruiters there as well. And I was like, this is not good enough. Like, you're playing shit. And I was at the time. I hadn't been back, and I think it put me off flying. It was my first time I'd ever really flown overstate to play.
Yeah.
And also after my knee, like I just wasn't really as aware of my surroundings as I probably would be. So he gave me a bit of a spray, and I was sitting on the bench and I was fuming. I was going to cry. I was angry. I was upset. But I went back out there and I played a much better second half. So in the end, it was definitely good that he gave me a bit of a spray.
Yeah. Do you reckon you're someone who responds better to not like constant, like insane, intense criticism, but do you reckon you're someone who responds better to that than maybe to like coddling?
Yeah. I think I haven't had a lot of coaches at all who've given me sprays. Like Jax, as I said, he's very calm. And even when he's not not very direct. He wouldn't be like, "You're playing shit, Ella."
He'd be to the whole
and
girl.
Trent, no, he's a super lovely guy, and he wasn't yelling, but he definitely was. It's the firmest kind of feedback I'd been given on the bench, so I was a bit rattled, but I think it made me fire up, and I think once I get fired up, then I switch on. So I respond well, I think.
Yeah, and when you come out, like all your footy's done. Obviously, there was the combine to go, but all your footy's done. Champs, the WAFLW games that you did get to play, like. How are you feeling at the end of that? Because the combine really doesn't mean much.
Yeah.
They know how athletic you are. Like, so you've played all your footy. You know you're now live chance for the draft.
Yeah.
Like, how are you feeling off the back of all that?
Yeah, well, I think, the second game we played after we came back from Sydney, and we played Vic Country here, I think that was a bit of a better game. So I think I was like, hopefully that was enough to show them that I know I haven't been able to give my best a lot of the season, but hopefully I've given enough. So I think and it's still up in the air now, but I think the whole thing is just a waiting game. Like the combine, of course you can impress them as much as you can. But at the end of the day, like they're more worried about your footy. So I think I was just hoping that I had done enough. But you never really know. Like, I think that was pretty nerve-wracking finishing, thinking maybe I wasn't able to put my best foot forward most of the season. So, I think it's hard to know.
Yeah. Now, you were saying you're sort of like timid when you go to new places.
Yeah.
When you're talking to a club, like being interviewed by a club, that'd be confronting as hell.
Yeah.
Like you would be,
It was.
like, how were your first few interviews? Did you like do them and like you would come out of them and feel like you'd fuck it up?
Yeah.
Or do you feel like...
Well, my very first one was Carlton, And they were lovely. Like,
Yeah.
they made me feel super comfortable. And every time I said something, they would just make me feel super, you know, comfortable and like I'd said the right thing. So that was very lucky. But like, yeah, I think after the first few, you're like, I know what they're going to ask. You get into a bit of a rhythm. But Melbourne actually came to my house because they were playing over here. They were versus West Coast. So that was super confronting. And
like rattled you a little bit?
Melbourne is like a very professional team. Like
great club.
They're a great club and super professional. So I think like I kind of tried to crack a joke here and there, and I was just getting straight faces.
Oh, that's stiff.
Which is stiff, but like I think it made me realise like they are a whole head above everyone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, them coming to my house, they kind of came over, and I wasn't sure if the vibe was like sitting on the couch or sitting at the dining table. So I was like, oh, where do you guys want to sit? And they were like, oh, up to you. So I like walked over to the couch, and then they walked over to the dining table. So I was like, oh shit, here we are. And he set up like a tripod and he started filming me.
Ooh.
And I was sitting at one end and he was sitting at the other end, and there was a few staff there, and I was like, this is so intimidating.
That's weird. I don't like that at all. I was I get that you're professional, but show a little bit of personality.
I know. They were lovely, but definitely very professional.
Scary.
And I had my mum there, so thank God, but yeah, that was scary.
Yeah, would your mum ever like just step up when you were struggling?
She was like, Ella's such a hard worker. I was like, Mum, tone it down a bit. She's like, no, like she's so determined. I was like, okay, Mum, like you don't need to give them the spiel. They'll be fine.
Yeah, no, but now they know you're hardworking and determined.
Well,
so thanks, Mum.
Yeah, cheers, Mum.
Yeah, no, and the combine itself, what was that experience like? Because again, I don't think it really matters like the testing, but at the same time, you want to put up good numbers.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be rocking up and doing like a stinker 2K. Like how are you feeling heading into that? Because again, you'd had an interrupted season. So like being at full fitness, do you feel like you're at full fitness at that stage? And how did you feel with the nerves?
Yeah. Well, I kind of thought like the combine, it seems like this massive thing, like, and I guess kind of for the boys, because they hold it like a big one in Melbourne, but for the girls, like there was only 8 or 9 of us there.
Yeah, it was a real small thing at like Curtin Uni.
At Curtin Uni, and like those are all the girls from State Academy. Like we trained like twice a week leading up to the combine, and like we ran like I was running about 3 or 4 times a week. But, like, we went into state and we practiced the agility and stuff. So I was super comfortable. Like, it was all the girls that I'd been training with for the last, 9 months. Like, it wasn't anything scary. It was scary that all the recruiters were sitting up in the stands and watching. But the boys were also on, like, at the same time. So I could kind of sense that they were... most of them were kind of looking at the boys, not us. So that kind of helped a little bit. But, yeah, I think I was kind of... Like, my knee injury was completely fine. Like, I was running heaps and working really hard on my endurance, so I felt, like, pretty fit at the time going into it. But, yeah, the day was super nerve-wracking. Like, obviously, people say it doesn't matter, but I also wanted to... I wanted to do as best as I could. So, I was trying as hard as I could, obviously.
Yeah, and how did you feel you went?
Yeah, well, I was surprised to see that I was, like, 10th in the country for my vertical jump, because it's not something that you really practice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess that was good. And then my 2K obviously won for WA, and then got 10th for...
Gotta feel good.
Yeah, got 10th for in the country. So it was a stinking hot day as well. It was like 35 out in Curtin, on the track. So I was happy with what I got. But yeah, I think some of the clubs were pretty impressed as well. They said like obviously the clubs that were there said like, oh, we saw you working hard the whole day. So I think it's a good like testament of character as well.
Yeah. Did you have to do much media there?
I got interviewed by 7 or 9 or something. They didn't actually end up using it. A bit stiff. I was pretty excited to be on live telly, but that's fine.
No, that's actually
it doesn't matter. I think they put Caitlin in actually, not me. That's fine.
She does talk a lot, so they probably had to cut down her bit. Yeah.
No, I don't mind. And then Rookie Me were there, so had to do a few funny little
I was with Rookie Me for the National Combine because I do stuff with all those guys. And I was with them for the National Combine, and I was talking to Michael. So I was talking with Michael about what they were setting up and all that. And watching some of the players, like the Brady Bunch one, where you have to do that.
We had to do that, and it's so awkward.
It looks so
and everyone's
stupid.
Watching as well, and you're like, oh god, you got to embrace it though.
Yeah, no, you look silly doing it.
Yeah,
like it's done now.
Yeah,
but geez,
and they never used like that's the thing with those kind of things. They take all this footage and then they use like 2 seconds of it, so it's like you're probably not even going to end up being used anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So you just did a bunch of media and none of it made
It's probably for the best.
I'm actually not even uploading this.
Okay, it's probably best. People say I can get a bit awkward in front of the camera, so it's probably his best.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did well in the finale.
Oh, thank you. Well, I came second, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, so that's in front of a camera.
Yeah.
So, you know.
No, maybe I'm getting better.
Yeah, maybe you are. Maybe you're going to be, I mean, you're going to struggle if you're not good in front of a camera if you make AFLW.
Yeah, I'll have
all
to
those
get
games
used
are
to it.
televised. So.
Yeah. Well, you're not looking at the camera there, are you, though? So
I would be. I would absolutely
I
be.
search for the camera while I'm playing.
Yeah. Do you ever try and make sure you get good photos? Like you know where the camera is and say you try and do something.
We actually have this joke, me and my teacher. He's follows my footy a lot, and every time something gets posted on me, it's a shocking photo. And I come back to school and he's like, "Oh, come on, I thought you were going to get a good photo this time."
Some people just cannot get a good photo.
I just can't get a good photo. They're always capturing the bad angles.
It's always mid-kick when you're holding your breath and your face is all scrunched up.
And every time I kick the ball, to concentrate, I stick my tongue out.
Yeah.
I go this over my mouth guard to concentrate. So all the photos of me kicking, I've got my tongue out. And then just the action photos are just terrible. So I come to school and he sees something on the Instagram or something and he's like, "Oh, come on, I thought you were gonna look for the cameras this game." And I was like, "I'm in the middle of playing, I can't look for the camera."
Yeah.
But nah.
The tongue thing's a good song. So I remember, I don't know how much cricket you watch, but George Hogg, Brad Hogg did it. And it was apparently if you put your tongue out, it means you're concentrating as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah, well, that's what I do.
So that just shows that you're determined. Anyone else that isn't doing that isn't as concentrated as you.
So I think I'm the winner here.
But yeah, no, do you ever, does it ever cross your mind? Do you know where the camera is and you try and get one good one?
When I'm playing, not really at all. Obviously, I think
that's where we differentiate.
I think my coach would be pretty angry if I was looking at the camera.
No, if I see the camera and I know it's there, I'm just trying to put in a good tackle or a mark there. I'm only leading towards where the camera is. After the game,
when they get the photos of you walking up, I try and give a little smile.
Yeah, maybe a little tense as you're doing it. Yeah. Put the arm down, but still tense it just so they don't notice.
Yeah, nah.
Now, year's done, completely wrapped up. How are you feeling now that you're 5 days from the draft and it's all done? There's nothing more that you can do.
Yeah, well, I think that's the scary thing. You try all year to put your best foot forward in every aspect, and then now it's just a waiting game. I get my ATAR score on Saturday as well, so I think it's just big weekend. My future is this weekend is my future, isn't it? And I've got no control over it really at all. So I think that's the scary thing. I like being in control, and I don't really like the unknown. So this is all my biggest fears in one. Yeah. But that's fine. I think I've just learnt to go with the flow and just have to wait.
Obviously, you wouldn't have a favourite club, and no one has a favourite club. But do you have a favourite city you'd want to go to? You said you had family in Melbourne and Sydney. Would you want to go to one of those two? Would you want to go somewhere nice like Queensland?
Yeah.
Would you want to go to South Australia? Not many people say they want to go there, but maybe you do. Is there a preferred state or city you want to go to?
Yeah, I mean, South Australia would be a bit rough. There's a few girls from Claremont that have moved there.
It's quite nice. South Australia is so underrated.
And it's a small town Perth. I think
it is just a shit Perth, to be fair.
Yeah.
Respectfully.
I've been there once when I was 7, I don't remember. Yeah. So I might like it. And a few girls from Claremont are there, so I think I'd know a few people there. But I think ultimately Melbourne. Sydney Swans is a great club. I'd love to go there. But yeah, I love Melbourne. I was just there on the weekend for a concert, so I was kind of imagining myself maybe living there.
Who'd you go see?
Zach Bryan.
I did, yeah. It was a big old thing.
Yeah.
Who is he?
He's a country singer. When I say not many people know who he is, but I'm so glad we went.
I saw a lot of people were there, and I was just who the hell is this guy?
Well, he's from the US, from Oklahoma, and he flew here. I think he must have been paid a lot to fly here because he flew to Melbourne. I think he was there for 5 days or something, did one show in Melbourne at Flemington and then flew home. So I wish he was doing more shows, but I was lucky to get tickets.
Are you into country music?
I love country music, yeah.
It's so good though, country music. I never got into it, but it always slaps.
It does. I don't know, only recently I have. I think a lot of the Claremont girls are into country music and they all go to the rodeos and stuff. And
that's it. The ones out in I don't know where. Out towards northern ways. That sort of direction.
And when we went on our pre-season camp to Claremont, they were playing country music the whole way down. So I was like, I might have to get into this, and now I love it. So
I was about to ask if you play it and you get picked on, because I think a lot of people pick on people for liking country music.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah,
I think they're the ones that need to be picked on, to be fair.
Well, that's the thing. It's whenever people say they like all music, they always follow it up with except country.
Yeah.
Which is a bit
it's a bit stiff.
Yeah.
You gotta give it a chance.
Are there good Australian country artists that you like?
Not many. No. I'm more into the American cowboys.
Who was Billy Ray Cyrus? You into him? Yeah. That's the only country artist I know.
No, I think he's a bit past my time. He's quite old now.
Oh, you can like old.
I still like it, but no, I like Noah Kahan, Zach Bryan, You probably don't know any of them.
I've heard all their names.
Yeah.
Luke Combs.
Yeah, Luke Combs.
I'm
You know
good.
him?
I'm pretty
You
good.
know him. You do like country music.
Yeah, I'm so into country music. I'm actually, when you leave, I'm going to put on some country
Okay.
music and
I was listening to country music the whole way here. Zach Bryan's whole album.
like from start to finish.
Well, it's a 40-minute drive here. His album obviously a bit longer than 40 minutes. I made about halfway through.
Yeah, okay. Well, you got something to look forward to on the drive back.
The second half on the way home.
Yep. I'll start listening to it on the way home.
Okay.
I live 5 minutes away, but
You might get one song.
I'll give it a start.
The first song on his new album's a poem, so you might
Okay.
not like that.
I'm into poetry.
Okay.
What would make you think I'm not into poetry?
Oh, it just didn't strike me as the kind of guy.
Is there like no music in it? It's just poetry.
No, he's like playing guitar behind it.
Okay. Isn't that all a song is?
Yeah, but he's like speaking, he's not singing.
Okay.
You listen to it and you'll sing.
Yeah, no, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll listen to the whole album. What's the album called?
It's called Zach Bryan.
Okay. That's so lazy.
No.
No, that's lazy.
No, it's not. He's famous, he can do what he wants.
No, you can't. All right, that's all I've got for you. Thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure to have you.
It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and best of luck for wherever you may end up.
Thank you.